and welcome to the GoCanvas Essentials course. This is the third video in the Customize Your Forms and Data Delivery session. We will be going over how to set up the two kinds of calculations in the Builder Beta, traditional and table calculations. First, let's cover the Calculation tab in the Settings modal. On the left side of the modal, you will see that the Calculation radio button is filled in as a default with Table Calculation underneath. These are the two kinds of calculations in Builder Beta. In the center of the modal is a classic equation format with the values listed one on top of the other. To the left of the equation is the Operator button, where you can select addition, multiplication, subtraction, or division. Finally, Format allows for either a number with the option of 0 decimal places up to 6 decimal places, or currency, which will default the layout to include the $sign and 2 decimal places. If you need to add additional values, press Add Value to the right of the equation. If you need to delete a value from the calculation, simply hover over that row and press the trash can. It is important to note that calculation fields do not follow the order of operations, otherwise known as PEMDAS. If you combine multiple values in one calculation, you must manually order the values, respecting the rules of PEMDAS to get the correct answer. For most calculations, separating them into multiple calculation fields usually is the safest way to ensure that the calculation will be accurate. Now that we know the layout of the Calculation tab in the Settings modal, we can set up a calculation. Calculation fields allow for the 4 basic mathematical operations between field values, between constants, or between field values and constants. In order to set up any calculation, you will need field types that are recognized as numbers, i.e., number fields for costs, quantities, etc., or other calculation fields. However, date and time fields are not recognized in calculations in Builder Beta at this time. One example of using 2 or more field values is multiplying the price of a part by the quantity ordered. An example for using a field value and a constant would be multiplying a subtotal by the tax rate, as it is unlikely the tax rate would change often. Since we know the layout of the Calculation tab, setting up a calculation should be straightforward. When you expand the drop-down, the option to choose a constant as well as each number field by screen are listed. Select your field names from the drop-down menu or type in a constant value. Change the operator or format if necessary, and click Done when your calculation is complete. We can see it now in action on mobile. The second kind of calculation is table calculation. Table calculations allow you to summarize the value from every instance of a number or calculation field within a table. No matter if the table has 5 rows or 50, the summary function in table calculation will add all those values together. For example, if you set up a simple calculation in a table that takes the price and multiplies it by the quantity ordered, you can then use table calculation on a later screen to tell you the total cost of every item ordered. In future updates to Builder Beta, table calculations will also be able to find the average from every instance of a field in a table or count every instance of a field in a table. More information about these options will be provided when those features become available. In order to set up a table calculation, first select the table from the first drop-down menu. Then select the name of the column or field that you need to summarize. Finally, choose the format number or currency. Click Done to close the modal when finished, and test out your calculation in the browser using the Test button. Thanks for joining me in the third video of the Customize Your Forms and Data Delivery session. Please join me in the next video on the PDF Designer.